In this video, we are going to look at 5 mistakes that changed history forever. Part 2. If you want to see Part 1, then click the link in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1. The Trojan Horse Deception. The Trojan Horse is one of the most famous stories in history. According to legend, the Greeks were besieging the city of Troy for 10 years, but they were unable to capture it. So the Greeks built a giant wooden horse and left it outside the city walls. The Trojans were tricked into thinking that it was a gift from the gods, and they brought it inside their city. That night, Greek soldiers came out of the horse and opened the gates for the rest of the Greek army. And the next morning, Troy was captured and burned to the ground. This story has had a huge impact on Western culture, and it's often used to warn people about the dangers of trusting strangers. But what's interesting is that the story may not be true. There's no historical evidence to support it, and many historians believe that it was just a myth created by the Greeks to explain why they won the war. Number 2. Selling Alaska to the U.S. in 1867, Russia sold Alaska to the United States. At the time, Alaska was seen as a barren, frozen wasteland, and the Russian czars had been looking for an excuse to get rid of it. The U.S. was interested in expanding its territory, and so Alaska seemed like the perfect opportunity. The U.S. paid Russia $7.2 million for Alaska, which at the time was about 2 cents per acre. In hindsight, this was an amazing deal for the U.S. Alaska is now a state in the Union, and it's one of the largest states by far. It's also rich in natural resources such as oil, gas, and minerals. And it's possible that Alaska could still be a part of Russia today, if things had turned out differently. Russia, on the other hand, lost a huge chunk of its territory for a relatively small sum of money. Number 3. The burning of the Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria was one of the largest and most comprehensive collections of knowledge in the ancient world. It was home to thousands of scrolls and books from all over the known world. But in the year 48 BC, Julius Caesar came to Alexandria and started a civil war. The city was eventually captured by Octavian, who later became known as Augustus, and in the process, the library was set on fire. It's not entirely clear how the fire started or how long it burned for, but we do know that it destroyed a significant portion of the ancient world's knowledge. This was a huge loss for humanity, and it's possible that many great works of literature and science were lost forever in the flames. Number 4. Hitler attacking the Soviet Union. On June 1941, German forces invaded the Soviet Union. This was a huge mistake. The German army was not prepared for the vastness of the Soviet Union, and the Soviets had a much larger population than the Germans, meaning that they could replace their losses on the battlefield much more easily. The Germans did make some gains in the early years of the war, but they were unable to defeat the Soviets. In fact, the Germans lost over 80% of their soldiers during the war, and many of those who survived were captured by the Soviets and spent years in prison camps. Hitler's decision to invade the Soviet Union is one of the biggest mistakes in military history. It ultimately led to the end of Nazi Germany and World War II. Number 5. Napoleon invading Russia. When Napoleon decided to invade Russia, he had already conquered most of Europe. In June of 1812, Napoleon's army crossed the Niemen River into Russia. His Grande Armée, which was the largest military force in Europe, had marched across the continent, defeating all who stood in their way. But Napoleon's ambitions didn't stop there. He wanted to conquer Russia, too. The Russians were prepared for the invasion, and they used hit-and-run tactics to wear down Napoleon's forces. They burned their own villages and cities, rather than letting the Grande Armée plunder them. Napoleon's troops suffered from lack of supplies, and they began to retreat in October, but it was too late. The Russian winter had begun, and Napoleon's army was decimated. Only 10,000 of the 600,000-strong force made it back to France. This disastrous campaign ended Napoleon's reign and led to the end of the Napoleonic Wars. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. Also, be sure to check out our other videos, which we think you'll enjoy.